I put my resignation in when I decided I was leaving, and the managing partner texts my call, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Yeah. I mean, I don't make this call for a lot of people. I think you got a chance here, because it is that business is.
Let's Talk Assets podcast. My name is Chris A. Williams, one of your hosts. I'm joined by my co-host,
Giovanni Paradise.
Y'all, today we have a very, very special guest. We have a former lawyer turned serial entrepreneur, Ranjeev Guliani.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome.
Yeah, we're glad to see you up here.
For our viewers and for everyone watching us that doesn't know me, this is actually probably our most well-known guest that we've had on the podcast. I've even had my family member on the podcast. But me and Chris work with Ranjeev. He is my partner at Camus Group and works with Chris in various assets, and various avenues on the real estate side. So we're excited to have him on here. There's a lot of things we want to ask. Even though we know a lot about you, there's a lot we don't know. How we usually do those things is, as Chris said, you're a serial entrepreneur. But obviously you didn't start off as an entrepreneur, as he said in the introduction. So if you could give us a little background, just kind of how you grew up, a little overview, and then what it was like senior year in high school, what your mindset was, and what you wanted to do in life.
Wow, senior year of high school. You're going to take this back pretty far.
Yes, sir.
So Ranjeev Guliani, obviously, I'm a local kid here, so I grew up in Virginia Beach, went to Cox High School here locally. So if you want to push it all the way back to high school, I think for some reason, I think from an early age, I kind of always wanted to be a lawyer. And it's just something that whether I had always known or I'd always thought about doing it, but I knew it was going to be business and I knew it was going to be law. We have a history of business in our family. My dad owned a lot of drugstores in the area and really just kind of grew up in a business setting and always wanted to be on the legal side of that. So, during high school, I kind of knew what the plan was in terms of what my career was going to be, and really didn't really move from that until I got deeper into it. I'm a bit of a restless soul, so I think I tend to. What I didn't know about myself when I was young was that I was going to take so many turns in my career that I just couldn't predict. But at that age, I was gung ho. I want to be a lawyer, and I was a tennis player, good student. So I ended up at UVA from undergraduate, and then I went to law school right through there. So I spent 7 years in Charlottesville and got the law degree and focused in mergers and acquisitions, corporate securities, that kind of stuff. So it was definitely kind of, everything in life up to that point was kind of on track to what I expected when I was in high school. So
Obviously you had that kind of mindset of, hey, I want to be a lawyer, which is a high paid profession. But walk us through, you said your father was an entrepreneur. Did you have when did you start? Did you have an idea in college, in high school? Did you have an idea during this time period? Walk us through that. 7 years is a long time, in college. During that time period, did you ever think like, wow, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, or, hey, I'm going into the corporate world? What was the mindset?
Yeah, I think I hate to say it this way, but I feel like that at that age, like the mindset was, I'm going to go to the highest paying person that's going to pay me. And I wasn't thinking about entrepreneurship during undergrad and college. I was like, I want to get good grades, and I'm a hired gun. I'm going to go to the best law firm that's going to hire me. I'm going to get the best grades I can to get to the best place I can get to. And I was driven for that. So when I graduated law school, I was near the top of class and went out and got a job in New York City at probably the 5th ranked law firm in the country. And because some are associated there. I was, that's what I wanted to do. To me,
walk us through that process of applying for jobs. Obviously UVA, prestigious law school, graduating at the top of your class is a huge accomplishment. Walk us through what that process is like. You graduate, which is a major accomplishment, and you're applying for jobs.
So I'd say it's a 3-year process, right? So your first year coming out of, after you finish your first year of law school, I did a summer associate here in Norfolk, actually, Wilcox and Savage. I don't know if it's still called Wilcox and Savage, maybe. So I was a summer associate there, and I had a good summer there. They kind of, for them, that's like recruiting these young lawyers. So they spend a summer there, they wine you, they dine you, you drink with them, you hang out. You don't do a lot of work, but like it's fun. And so I spent a summer here in Norfolk because that's kind of, even from a high-end law school like UVA is, your first summer as a lawyer, effectively, you're probably going back to your hometown because that's the easiest place to go get a job. Yeah. It's just tough for first-year law students in the summer to get a good-paying job in New York City. So second year, I summer associated at Simpson Thatcher, which is the place I ended up taking the job. And it was, again, summer in New York, it's kind of wine and dine. You don't do any work.
Yeah.
They're taking you to Nobu and Emily. I mean, you're at these, huge restaurants at lunch. I mean, you're working half days. I mean, it's really a pitch session, but like you get there, the guys that are starting as first year associates are working 100-hour weeks, 120-hour weeks. So, I knew going into it was going to be a lot of work, but that process was kind of them getting to know you and kind of weeding you into it. So I had that job they offered me the job, at the end of the summer anyway. So like I knew after my third year law school where I was headed. So I was going to New York and I wanted to practice law at the highest level that I perceived that to be at that age.
Yeah. So practicing law in New York, but being like going to college in UVA, did you see like any politics, I would say? Because I know New York, Harvard Law School is feeding right into New York lawyers and such.
Yeah, I don't know that it was politics as much. I think that when you're at that type of law firm, I think that they are the subset of people that are there are kind of the top of all these schools, and you just kind of find the place that fits your right. So I don't think it was politics really as to, hey, you're a Harvard grad, you're a UVA grad, you're a Duke grad. I think it's more for me. The adjustment was, like you said, Charlottesville. Virginia Beach is small. Charlottesville's even smaller than you're in Manhattan, and like you're just super fast paced, but you're like a duck out of water. Like it's for me, like I could never like that. I realized a year and a half in New York City that like that's not the lifestyle that.
Can you kind of download us with what it took for the job? Like we know you today, obviously law school. You've had a lot of life happen between law school and where you're at today. And obviously you're a people person, you're an entrepreneur and outgoing. I don't know, did that play a role in you getting the job? Was what you did as a lawyer there only desk work, or were you have to be in the courtroom at some point?
Yeah, I was a corporate lawyer, so there's no courtroom associated with anything that I was doing.
Okay.
But you have to understand, I think, it's difficult for people. Like when you're a first-year associate at a monster law firm that's got 500, 600, 800 employees, and you're basically starting at the bottom of the totem pole. So yeah, it's a lot of due diligence. It's a lot of desk work. It's a lot of grunt work, I would say. So the first few years as a young legal associate at a big law firm is not as sexy as it's portrayed on like The Firm and these movies. They're like these guys are out there. It's a tough grind, and it is a lot of hours, and you are doing a lot of, I'd say, semi-menial tasks. You're reading a lot of documents. You're doing stuff that, but they got to learn to trust you. But what you did learn is how to think. And that is probably the most important thing that I got through law school in my early career in legal, was it taught you how to linearly think. Like I can work through problems step by step by step. And it's a pattern of thinking that is, I think, probably guided me throughout my career. Like I feel like I'm a really good underwriter of property because I don't miss any steps. I go through my Gio's with me a ton when we're underwriting properties. I mean, there's a pattern by which I do stuff. And I think that has come from that legal training, and that time there has made me very kind of diligent in the way that I process deals. So like, I think from that perspective, it was very helpful. It's kind of like everybody that's Karate Kid, like Mr. Miyagi. I mean, you're doing this training that you don't understand what it's for. And even at that point, I didn't understand what it was for. But later on, I figured out that I actually learned something that's gonna guide my career. Maybe not in the way that I thought it would be at that point.
Absolutely. And when you're out of,
you like the Karate Kid reference?
Love the wax off. When you're performing as a lawyer, obviously you kind of, I would say, dream job. I mean, everyone wants to work as a lawyer in a Manhattan law firm majority of the time. That's kind of what your goal was, right?
Yep.
So you achieved that goal. That's a huge accomplishment in life. you're going through this journey. At what point did you start having a shift in mindset where like, okay, maybe this corporate world isn't for me?
I think about a year and a half in, I think the shift started with, when you're doing a new job, I can do anything for a long time, but I can also see, hey, look, this is what the junior partners are doing. These are what the senior associates are doing. I'm looking at their lifestyles. I'm looking at what they're doing, and I'm realizing, I'm not sure I like that either. And that was kind of for me the big, hold on a second, did I make a mistake with what I did here? Because now looking at, hey, what a fifth year associate doing or a young partner's doing, you're like, hey, I'm not sure I want to do that for a career. And I think that's where it started to break a little bit for me, along with, me not really loving New York. I love New York City to visit, but I love having a car. I love being able to go drive to grab it. It's just, for me, it was such a culture shock, as well as me kind of being not sure that this is what I want to do with a career, that I decided that I just had to, and I wasn't sure if it was New York or it was the job. So I made the move to DC because then I had my car and I got, a
little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But again, so I moved from a huge law firm in New York to a huge law firm in DC, because I'm still the back of my, hey, I'm, my mind.
How old are you at this point when you moved to DC?
Oh, God. Probably 26, 27.
Were you single, married?
Yeah, I was single. Single at that point. Single with any significant relationship.
Yeah.
But got engaged shortly thereafter after I moved to DC.
Okay.
I thought, hey, I couldn't figure out, hey, is it New York I didn't like, or is it the job I didn't like? So I decided to take a job at another firm that I thought would be great. And again, I like the firm. I like both firms, actually. I have nothing bad to say about either place that I work. In fact, both places said, hey, look, we really think you should stay. Now, you got a potential to make partner, but then when you're sitting there and you're like, hey, look, I'm not sure I want to be partner, it's a different story. So I think kind of the same thing happened in DC.
Well, they tell you that, though. When someone tells you that,
yeah.
I mean, an employer tells you, hey, you could become a partner. That's music to what everyone
No,
wants to hear.
when I left in DC, I worked another year and a half, 2 years in DC, and I put my resignation in when I decided I was leaving, and the managing partner texted my call, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Mm-hmm. I don't make this call for a lot of people. I think you got a chance here, because it is that business is a weed out process, right? They're weeding out the people they don't want, and the people that make it, and that's where the big money is in legal, is when you make it a partner, or So, but for me, it just wasn't what I wanted to do, in any capacity. So, it was a tough decision because it was good money,
So, how old were you when you said, "This isn't for me"?
28, 29.
So you kind of, that's kind of, I'm not saying later on in life, but that's kind of, down the line a little bit from, hey, this isn't my career anymore. You're kind of starting over, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously you were making good income as a lawyer, but what was the plan? What was your mindset at 29 years old? Hey, I quit being a lawyer. What's your next step?
I had an understanding wife to start with, because we just got married, and we were living, outside of DC, and she could tell I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I dress every day. I was wearing a suit to work. It's not my style. And she could tell that I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy to try. I just didn't, I didn't with what I was doing. And I wish I could tell you, I think some decisions you make with your heart and not with your head. I think that was a decision. I wanted to be back home. There's some family issues that my mom was sick. I wanted to be back home. I wanted to get out of what I was doing. And I think in hindsight, I could have gone out and said, okay, go find a job at a corporation as general counsel, or but I just decided to move back to the beach without a real clear direction of
no plan.
Well, the plan was, my dad at that point had a couple of medical equipment stores, and he's like, I'm retired. You want to take him over and do something with him? Come on. All right. I knew that, business is kind of my blood anyways. That's the kind of law I was in. So I said, hey.
So from lawyer
to
medical equipment sales.
Fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. So I showed up and that store in Norfolk, which I think you've probably been to, my office was there, and like, so big pay cut, but I'm at home. And
talking a 6-figure pay cut, right?
Yeah, maybe more. Like it was a big pay cut, but that started kind of, hey, look, I want to work for myself. I want to figure it out. And look, dude, I wasn't good when I started at 28 or whatever. Like I didn't know how to run a business. So basically, it's like somebody throwing you the keys and said, hey, he's there for consulting. My dad's great about that, but like, hey, figure it out. You're a smart kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know payroll. I don't know, how to manage a company. How to, I knew how to run P&Ls because like I was had a business background anyways from undergrad, but like I hadn't really done it. Payroll, taxes. How do you? I mean, I kind of figured it all out, and and made probably a ton of mistakes. But I think that's what it takes. I mean, you're gonna learn. Your training wheels, get them out. They were out. I'm sure I made a ton of mistakes.
Well, I think there's a huge lesson in kind of what you just said, and kind of. A lot of people ask me now because I'm a baby entrepreneur is like, how do I get started? You literally kind of not only got to take a risk, but kind of sometimes have to take a step back in order to go forward. And you took a couple $100,000 step back just to be happy and to figure out, hey, I'm talented, but I need to find what it is that I'm really good and passionate about. I think that takes a lot of a gall to quit a big corporate job. That takes a lot of risk.
I think I agree. But
and kudos to your family for being supportive.
100%. Couldn't have done it without the support of my wife, my father, everybody. But I think most people, and I'm a little older than you guys are, but I think most people, the hard part over time is to figure out what you're good at. And we talk about this all the time, and I think it takes a lot of time to figure out what your special niche at, what area are you really, really good at, and what you're bad at. And like I did figure out over a few years in retail or in different capacities what I'm not good at. I'm not good at day-to-day operations. If you show up and say, hey, look, you got to sit in that chair every day and you got to manage X or Y or Z. Like it's not good for my personality. Things got to be constantly moving and changing. And what I love about real estate so much is it's even if it's a house flip or a wholesale deal or whatever it is, there's a termination to a lot of that. That deal's over, and you can cleanse your mind of it and move to the next one. And I'm really, really good in short bursts, like probably as good as anybody. Like I have ability to work and concentrate and focus on something, at a very high level for a short burst or a couple short, a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever that is, and then be able to cleanse myself on and move to something else. But I need that, and that's why probably I've had so many different careers because there's a gypsy soul part to me that just kind of keeps looking for something else. But that's been the fun part. But over time, I've kind of figured out what I'm good at, and that takes time. And as young men, I think that's part of what you're trying to figure out is, what am I good at? What is my special sauce? What do I excel at? And then you go into businesses that are kind of focused in that area, I think, and that's where you really start to show the growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talking about like, you starting your businesses and such, you didn't really have any experience. So where did you gain your knowledge from as far as being an entrepreneur? Was it just experience, or were you like learning specific things, reading certain books?
Yeah, I had two great things, I think, as starters. One, I grew up in business. So when I say that, I mean, when I was in junior high and high school, like, working at my dad's stores, seeing how to buy products, seeing what P&Ls work like. And then my undergraduate degree was the Commerce School at McIntyre and UVA, which is a great undergraduate program for business. Learned all the basics, how to read P&Ls, how to do management, how to do marketing, how to do finance, all that stuff, like the background stuff that kind of makes everything go was already there. So when I jumped into law on that side, I'd say well-versed already. So I'd say most of what I've learned has been beyond that, has been just doing it and making mistakes and changing it. My dad has been a great resource for me over the years, but like I've made a lot of mistakes. Yeah. Like I just keep swinging, like, and I've missed, but you're going to hit some too. But you also learn, so if you're just swinging and you don't realize why you keep missing, that's where I think people, go awry.
100%. I love that. So 29, 30, you're in the medical supply business, right?
Yep.
As Chris brought out, said you're a serial entrepreneur, so that means more than one avenue of income. when did you decide, okay, this is one business, but I have an itch for more?
Pretty soon. I mean, pretty early. And so like we had a couple stores at that point. We expanded to 4 stores. Like, I mean, I'm also a growth guy, like, you know, and so yeah, we had a chain of 4 stores. And then I was in that business for 2 or 3 years. And then, you know, I get bored. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I get bored. I mean, like, you know, like, all right, let's do something else. So got involved in a plumbing franchise out of Richmond called Roto-Rooter. So we had a Roto-Rooter franchise. And, you know, it's so interesting that you learn from these things. And like, I was never day-to-day in that operation, but I understood the business. But the business model that they ran was an independent contractorship. And that's the same business model we're running now with strategic. So like, you learn something from 10 or 15 years ago and you put away like, wow, this is a really good model. Mm-hmm. And now we've applied that model to how we handle our markets for wholesaling. So got into plumbing, really spent a lot of time in the car business. So probably about 2010 or so, bought a car lot in Virginia Beach.
Why?
I have no idea. I mean, I do love cars. Okay. So like, I think there was a natural tendency to want to go to something that I've always, I mean, I love cars all my life. I'm not.
But no background.
No background.
Selling cars, fixing cars, nothing.
The car business is not about cars. Car business is about lending money and financing. And that's what I'm good at. So we got into the car business, but we turned that car business just into the lending business. It was just a vehicle to put money on the street. So effectively, every car is just a notes receivable in my mind. And so that's where I started really getting into lending, and now we're in mortgage, but it all kind of went along in this route. So car business for 4 or 5 years, had a couple lots in Virginia Beach, had a lot in Suffolk, like, you know, so really got into it, you know. But again, you know, after 5, 6, 7 years of it, like, I was in the car business for a while. It's, you know, the business changed a lot, you know, and it changed in a way that most people, you know, the car business was still good, but the problem is credit and lending. And when we got in initially, you know, these major lenders like a Wells Fargo, those kind of guys aren't buying very deep into the credit pool. So those guys might buy to a 650 Beacon score or something like that. And all those other people, then we could finance them, right? Over the time, they kept buying lower and lower into the credit pool. And you saw what happened in the 10s, 11s, 12s. But the people that were now buying with my paper were lower and lower in the credit pool. It just became a tougher business to maintain because they were harder on the car, whatever. The model that worked at the beginning wasn't working as good at the end. So about 2015, I started making the transition to real estate and started flipping some houses. And then by 17 or 18, I was.
Why real estate though?
You asked the question, and I know you're going to laugh because, like, there's no good answers to what I say. Well, why car business? I don't know. I mean, why am I in medical? I'm not sure. You know, why am I in plumbing? I'm not sure. The opportunity presented itself. But real estate, I think I was just probably eating too many bonbons late night, watching these people flip houses, these shows that were popping up in 15 or 16. I'm like, hey, I can do that. They can flip a house. I can flip a house. Why not? Try it. I got some extra money. Let's try one. And, you know, I had a failed run in the hot tub business. But I had some good contractors from that.
Well, let's talk about that real quick before we talk about business. Yeah, because we talked about the businesses that were successful. Because obviously, that you did well in the car business. I remember that's how I first met you. I was working at the lot across the street about 13, 14 years ago. But talk to us. How'd you get in the hot tub business?
Again, no good reason. A couple of guys that were in the medical equipment business with me, or one of the guys was a sales guy for me. He's a really good sales guy, and him and his brother were selling hot tubs out of a warehouse on Lynn Parkway, and I really like people tell me like, hey, you're gonna make 2 or 3 these single deals like transactional stuff, and they're like, hey, we got no overhead. We got 5 or 6 hot tubs in there, and where people are coming in, they're just taking them, and we're making a couple of grand a hot tub. I'm like, hey, that sounds like a good business. Tell me more. I'm interested. So I learned about it, and we got in the hot tub business right as the market crashed. Oh. So we were opening a high-end kind of outdoor kitchens, hot tubs, all this stuff. We got in right as the market was just, in 09? Yeah, 09. And it was just a wrong time, and... the fire pit at the back of my house. Yep. That's the last remnant of that hot tub business. business. That was
Very nice fire.
that was from that business remnant. But yeah, so yeah, that was a combination of really just bad timing in the market. Who's going to buy a $6,000 to $7,000 hot tub, a $20,000 outdoor kitchen when
At what point did you decide to fold that business? Because obviously you had other income coming in. And then I think a lot of mistakes that entrepreneurs, and I'm thankful to have you, because I've gone off on this tangent since me and you have started in business, but they don't keep the main thing. You kind of built a business, then started another one.
Right.
But at what point did you decide to fold that?
That's the hardest decision you're going to have as an entrepreneur, to realize, hey, look, this just isn't working. And like the difference is everybody's like, I'm just going to go a little harder. I'm going to go a little harder. I can fix the problems. I can make it. And to make the decision, hey, look, this is, as hard as I work, this is just fundamentally not a good business. So I think we had a decent first year coming out of the gate, because I think but I think, again, one of the special sauces that you develop over time as you get a little more seasoned is you start to realize when there's multiple issues across the product line in terms of making money. Like in the hot tub business, you could sell a hot tub and it's great and you make $1,000, whatever. Then you got to deliver this thing. And you don't realize what is involved in that process and how much time, money, energy goes into effectively delivering this, getting this set up. And it's just problem after problem after problem. And it wasn't worth it. And you go look at it, you're like, there's not enough money in this to justify all these steps and all these problems to get it out of there. And, so I think I just had to take a hard look back and just say, hey, look, this is not going to make sense. Even at X volume or Y volume, this business isn't going to generate the kind of returns that I want for the time I got to put into it. So.
Yeah. So that was one of the businesses that quote unquote failed. But looking back on it, if you had to go back in time, would you not do that business, or would you still do that business knowing what you know now?
I would 100% not do the business. I mean, knowing what I know now, sure, I learned some lessons from it. Like one of the best lessons I learned is when to pull a plug on a business, when it's not effective, when it's, eating too much of your mental energy versus your overall time. So did I learn a lesson? Yes, but that was a hard lesson to learn. I don't like losing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you were in the car business, you said about 6-7 years, and you kind of, what made you, I know you were making money in the car business.
Yeah.
The car business was good. Obviously, it did have a little bit of shift. But anyone that's been I've sold cars, just for context, everyone that knows is that's a time-intensive business.
Tough business, man.
Time-intensive.
It's tough.
And you got to be there. You can't really run it remotely. That's the thing.
100%. You're absolutely right. That business starts at 9 a.m. and it usually goes to 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And you got good people or you got bad people, you got sales. It's just, it is a tough business. And like I look at that business now for what you can make versus the real estate business, and I would choose real estate 100 times over the car business. But again, that's one of those things you have to go through it to realize, okay, in the car business to make 20 or 30 or 40 grand a month, it takes this. In real estate to make 30, 40 grand a month, it doesn't take that. It's a lot easier.
What you figure?
Yes, it's a lot easier. So, I think you have to see some stuff to realize that that's not for me anymore. Because I left that business in 17 or 8, and not one day has gone back where I was like, well, I wish I was still in the car business. I wish I was still working 13 hours a day, sitting in this office trying to finance, So you learn a lot, but that's, I don't want to go back to that.
What did you do? Okay, you got it started in real estate. You were still in the car business when you flipped your first house?
Yeah, absolutely. First 2 years, I'd say I was still in the car business.
Okay.
And, again, probably watched too many DIY, do-it-yourself renovation shows. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple contractors from the old business. I'm like, hey, look, let's flip a house. So found a house and we flipped a house recently, Chesterfield Heights in Norfolk.
Yep.
Rougher area. First house is 50, 60 grand. So had a deal with my contractor. Say, hey, look, you fund the reno, I'll fund the house, and then we'll split the profits. Okay. Good deal. Nice guy. This guy's is a Class A builder. Okay, so like he's not used to doing home renos on a 800 square foot house in Norfolk.
Yeah.
So we go in there and we buy this house for $60,000, and it's 800 square feet. It's a 2-1, 3-1, something like that. We don't know what we're doing, and we probably put like $70,000. So.
Oh my!
Yeah, exactly.
Did you rebuild it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's a big tear down, like, right? I mean, and so we put all this money in this house, and then the buy side agent was super sketchy guy. I don't know who the guy is now, but and I was like, I can't use this guy again. Like, I got to take a shower when I talk to this guy. It's not my kind of guy, And so somehow I came across, Ryan Boyce, which ended up becoming a friend of mine. So he ended up listing that house for us. And after all was said and done, we made about $3,000 on that house.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So, and I go back, and I'm thinking about, okay, we did everything wrong. Like, they should have done this. And we got like courts going into this house. Like, we're just mistake out. You don't know what you're doing. But we still made money. Like, all right, I got you. So what do? I do the next opposite. The next house I buy, I go to, again, like a kind of a C neighborhood, let's say, but was built in 2015. It's there ready already. Okay. $10,000 reno. Can't screw up the reno. Falls out of contract 6 times because the neighborhood's so rough. Oh yeah, it's
6 times is crazy.
Finally sold, made $30,000-$40,000 on the house. Like, okay, I'm hooked. And then Ryan, who's a close friend of mine, meets me in the cul-de-sac outside the house and says, "Hey, I got some agents for you," and so set me up with Troy Brimmer from First Class, and he became my agent extraordinaire for probably a couple of years, and Melody and Jen, and it's all the old school kind of First Class people. Yeah. I just started flipping houses, so I loved it. I loved the transactional in and out. Like that was, was cutting my teeth in 15, 16, 17, and really doing well.
Well,
everything off the MLS. Everything off the MLS.
What point did you say, okay, bye car business?
Yeah, that was happening, right? So in that 2 or 3 year period, as I was starting to realize, okay, hold on a second, I'm making $40,000, $50,000 a house here. And I'm sitting here sweating in this car lot, and we're not going to make that in a month if we, it would have to, all the stars would have to align perfectly, and we have to work, whatever. It's just too much work, too much headache for versus flipping one house where I could be laying on the beach doing, So, so really just, I'd say by 17 or 18, I was 2 feet out the door. I was ready to roll. I was done.
What'd you do with the car business?
The car business, so we sold the receivables off and subleased out the car lot to somebody else and just kind of got out of it. So
yeah, that's nice.
I mean, that's that business about receivables, right? So it's paper. So you move the paper, and you move on, or we collected part of them. So it's just it's an asset. So you just got to figure out how to dispense of it. So
yeah. So starting out in real estate, you started out as a flipper.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will start out as agents. What gave you the courage to skip the agent step and just start out as a house flipper and investor?
I think that and Gina probably tested this. Like, I do have a inflated value of myself probably, but like I can learn very quickly, right? So like you sit down with a Troy and you spend 5 days, he teaches you how to comp house. Okay, I got it. Give me admin access. So like I was doing, like, I can process stuff pretty quickly. So, like, I was comping houses pretty quickly. I had my own access. I was able to evaluate houses they could send to me. Like, so we were moving very, very quickly. And I really, I did become an agent, actually, to your question, but for probably a different reason. But no, I never wanted to be on the transactional side of it. I wanted to be on the property side. And still today, I don't want to be on the agent side of showing houses and listing houses. It's just too much admin related work for me to be interesting for me. But like I've always wanted to be on that side. So there was never a question of that. The beauty of being a real estate agent is understanding the MLS, understanding data, understanding how to comp houses. And once you figure that part out, then I don't want to be a real estate agent.
I think this is something interesting due to where you're at right now. But tell everybody and tell us the year you bought your first rental property.
Yeah, it's probably it's a great question. You know me well. I was very. I like cash flow. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way. And so I probably went 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years of flipping houses. Didn't even think about buying a rental property.
Wow.
Just
But let's take a step back. Not even just flipping. You were a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you had good credit. You're a high income earner, and then you went into, obviously you had money saved up. You had the means to buy rental property in your 20s.
Sure.
Why didn't you ever invest in real estate?
Great question. And I'll put this back on, I think our family has always been about running businesses, right? So my dad owned the Drug and Porn franchise in this area, and he owned businesses, ran business. All these are leased locations. Yeah. Everything I'd ever saw is running a business, lease your location. And my dad owns a primary residence. He never owned a rental property in his life, still doesn't. And it's just never been something that was discussed or, hey, look, you should do this. It was always, hey, get a good business, earn some money, earn some income from the business. And it just didn't occur to me. It's ridiculous now because such a big part of our portfolio now is rental properties, Airbnbs, all this stuff. But I just didn't have exposure to it.
So as a high income earner, what were you doing with all that income? Were you investing?
I was growing the business. Okay. Right. So anybody that's flipped at scale realizes it's a cash hog. Yeah. Like it is a cash hog. I mean, if you're flipping 30 houses a year, which we were, during that period of time, I mean, that's a lot of cash flow going out, and I was using my cash flow. I was borrowing money from family. I mean, hey, you got to get that, because you're not doing one house at a time. You got 5, 6, 7, 8 going. That's $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million of cash that's just turning all this in the system, and we deal with it now. The flipping business is a cash hog. No matter how much money you have, you're going to burn it. I promise you. And that's just the way the business works, and you got to be really careful when you're flipping houses. You don't go broke flipping houses. You may be making money on a lot of these deals, but the pace at which it goes out, or they start slowing down in terms of when they're selling, they can really crunch you. Yeah,
that's why it's important to underwrite a deal, right? So you can't go broke.
Underwrite a deal, but also take on as much as you can handle. Let's say you go buy 2 or 3 great houses, and they sit on the market for 60 or 90 days, and you buy 2 or 3 more, and they're not selling. Mm-hmm. You're screwed quick. That didn't mean they were bad deals, so they took longer to sell. But if you haven't thought through that process, you're in trouble quick. So I love house flipping. By nature I'm a house flipper, but I can see how you can get in trouble.
So when did your mindset switch? Was okay, flipping houses, I'm making money, I need to buy rental property?
I think the tax bill is starting to come a little bit, and the tax man cometh, and you keep paying it, and you realize that there's a beauty to debt and leverage and leveraging properties and being able to write down the depreciation, write down the interest expense, write down the renovations sometimes that are going in rental properties. So over 18, 19, I started to figure out, okay, I need to blend in some rental properties with these flips to take off some of the taxable income from these flips because you're just tired of paying taxes. Mm-hmm. And selfishly, I think the reason. And then once I got into the rental properties, I started understanding what I had missed. I started understanding why you buy rental properties, and it sounds foolish now, but it probably is the greatest thing in the world to own a rental property. Yeah. Whether it's a single family, multifamily, a hotel, whatever it is, because what other asset class in the world is throwing off cash? It's appreciating as it's throwing off cash. And there's so many tax benefits to it. Yep. And really a rental property, if you have a renter in there, effectively is like a cash machine. Think about it. You got a renter in there. Every 10 or 15 years, that renter is going to pay down $100,000 to $150,000 of equity, pull the cash machine, grab another $100,000 out of it. And then you do that every 10 years. And it's a gift that keeps giving. And people really, if they don't understand that, I think they gotta get their education level up on rental properties and real estate in general and all the benefits of it. Because everybody just strictly looks at, hey, what's your cash on cash return? And really it is so much more to that in a rental property. And so I would highly recommend people read up, learn, educate yourself on rental properties. And I had to do the same thing, when I got started.
Mm. I was going to say, any resources or anything that you recommend for people who are trying to expand their knowledge when it comes to rental properties and also flipping too?
Resources. I love bigger pockets. It's ugly to say. People probably. I read when I started. I was on every forum, every post, everything I did. I searched, learned about it. I was very big on that, on those forums, kind of just shadowing it, seeing what people are saying. So I haven't done. I've been to some trade shows and that kind of stuff. Read, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, but a lot of my education has just become from doing it. And then I'm in mortgage now, so I understand how to refinance a property. I understand how to do the burn method. I understand how to leverage properly. So all those things kind of with my background have made it easier. So
Yeah. You're being humble right now, which I appreciate, but also going into what you're doing on social media and such, you're also teaching the people a lot of things. So I was trying to lead you there,
Yeah. I just got started. I appreciate you giving me the free plug, but I just started putting some educational stuff out on my Instagram account and getting that process started, because I really do like engaging with people. I really do like teaching. I think I've learned a ton, not only about real estate, but I'd say there's not a ton of people in this space that, and we haven't gotten to this part of the story, but I own a mortgage company, I own a title company, I own a hard money company, so every piece of that wheel, we're wholesalers, we're investors, we own rental properties, Airbnbs we're involved in. And that really makes me dangerous.
Yeah.
Cause I know how this whole business works, and I own these different pieces. So I can really consult on all those, all the pieces that maybe, some people really just focus on, hey, look, I want to own rental properties. I really just want to be a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. I've done that, but I've also done the 3 or 4 corollary professions that you can make money off of. So
I have an interesting question. Is you own multiple businesses when you got into real estate? You sold off the car business, but you still have the medical stores. Yes. Why? Why did you keep one and sell one?
Yeah, I think the medical business, I do believe, is a great long-term business. The baby boom population is getting older. Mm-hmm. Retail is tough, right? So advent of Amazon, all these brick and mortar stores are struggling, right? Because there's so much competition online. And what makes that niche business good is that people want that customer service. When you're going and you're at a tough point in your life and you need mobility assistance, or you need X or Y or Z, they want that service. They want that personal touch. And that allows that retail niche to survive. So I really think it's a good long-term business. And I think with the aging of the population, people aging in place in their homes, I think it's a good long-term business. I think we've struggled over the last couple of years because of employee costs and rents have gone up. And I think we really got it now structured in a way that it's an effective business. So we definitely had to restructure the last couple of years, because business has changed. There's a cycle to every business. Yeah. And that one had run its cycle, but I think we're in for a regeneration there as well. So I actually believe in the business.
I guess that's a really valuable lesson where, and in our short time that we've been partnered up, we've had to pivot multiple times and tweak things that people think because you start a business and you make money, everything's sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. What would you if you were to describe business in a sentence, what is it like?
It's a war.
It's war.
100%.
Business
war. And you got to keep evolving. If not, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. Mm-hmm. I promise you. What worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow. You keep doing the same thing over, and that's where people get lost. Hey, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do the same thing I did yesterday, and it's going to work tomorrow. No, it's not. You better be reinventing yourself regularly if you're going to stay in that same space, or you're going to struggle.
Now, if you could go back to any point in your time and give your younger self advice, what would be one piece of advice that you gave yourself?
I would say the advice I'd give myself is not be so myopic in my thinking. When I say myopic, I mean, when I was young, I was very one track. Hey, I'm going to go do this career and I want to run this path. And I knew for sure that that's what I wanted to do, and really didn't take the time to think about other stuff or think about what other options are. And I just knew, but I didn't expose myself to enough other experiences to really validate at that age whether it's a good decision. And I got 2 girls, one girl in college at Michigan, which and I tell her this all the time. that I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm like, good. I'm 49. I don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life. I can't expect that you at 18 have any idea what you want to do. And that's okay. That's okay not knowing. You're there for the experience. Learn, figure it out, keep your mind open. I think that's probably the most advice I'd give myself is just, hey, keep yourself open to other experiences. Keep yourself open to everything, because at that age, you don't know. Even today, we don't know. I don't know what I'm going to be doing a year from now. Yeah, you don't either. Because business change, things change. I mean, we may be the Pickering company we're talking about. Like, so who knows? I mean, like, you just you got to take an opportunity and run with it. And don't be afraid to jump in.
And I think that's the biggest mistake I've made in my life, kind of to kind of go along with that, is being very young, 20, 21 years old. I thought I had to have it all figured out. I thought I had to be successful at what the world thought was successful. I needed to have a career, needed to have a house, needed to have a car, needed to be doing well. And, you evolve as a person too. That's what I didn't kind of realize. And it sounded like that as you got older, you evolved. As far as what you wanted. When you were younger, you were so laser focused, kind of singularly focused on, hey, I'm going to be a top lawyer. But as you got older, you figured out, hey, I kind of want something different than what this has given me. And I think that's a great advice to give any entrepreneur, especially young entrepreneur, is trust the process. Yeah. Move correctly rather than quickly.
And learn what you're good at. I mean, figure out over that time where your skill set is, or what are you really, really good at, and then replicate that, and then just keep getting better at it, and keep evolving it.
Yeah, definitely. So as far as your timeline goes, we left off as you being the house flipper and such. Mm-hmm. Trying to catch the people up.
Yeah.
To what we're at today, like as far as what you're doing and businesses you have going on.
So house flipping. I think the big change in the investing space for me became kind of in that 17, 18, 19 range, where before we were buying everything on MLS. Absolutely everything was coming from a realtor off MLS. And as that market got more competitive, our margins started to shrink.
Yeah.
And I started to realize, look, I can't make what I want to make on a house flip anymore because I'm competitive with 10 other people that have been on the South and MLS. I need to go direct to these sellers. And that really started kind of in 17, 18. And I think for a couple of years after that, really kind of honed in on direct to seller marketing, pay-per-click, direct mail, outbound calling, all that stuff that we use in our business today. I started doing, 18, 19 to kind of go direct to them. And I was in the houses, man. Like I've talked to more sellers face to face. I'm probably not more than Gio at this point, but I've been in hundreds and hundreds of houses. Yeah. Like I'm good in that setting. You wouldn't think I would be because you think they might be intimidated. Yeah, but like I'm good. You got to change your personality to the person you're meeting, and you got to be ready. And it's hand-to-hand combat. When you're with a seller, and you got to get to know them, and you got to spend time with them. That's what I did. So I learned that business, and that's how I built a lot of my rental portfolio. That's how I built a lot of this flip business was based on the back of these face-to-face meetings. And I'll tell you, through 18, 19, 20, I never wholesaled a house in my life. Zero. I'd never seen a wholesale contract. Everything I bought, I flipped. Wow. So it's the thing about it. You show up in Portsmouth, you buy a house, I'm flipping that house. Yeah. I sell it the money, I'm flipping it. So everything was flipped. So, I bought things for myself. Rental properties, buy it. There was no other disposition strategy at that point that I was using, but got really good at acquisitions. Mm-hmm. So, COVID came for everybody quickly, and during COVID, kind of pulled my accelerator off the flip business and said, okay, I'm going to take a step back here. Let's see what happens. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So I had probably one project going. I said, okay, I'm going to spend some time with the kids and hang out at home, and we're going to chill out and do our thing. And we did. And so I didn't buy any houses and just kind of slowed down, and took a few months kind of off and came out and said, hey, look, I want to come out of COVID and do something slightly different. Mm-hmm. I know how to flip houses, great, and I direct some market, I can do all that stuff. So decided I wanted to get in the mortgage business. Had always been in lending through the car business. Mm-hmm. Said, hey, look, I want to get in this complementary space. So looked at some franchises actually for mortgages, said, screw it. I got a couple hours here. I took the mortgage license test, got licensed, and said, hey, I'm just going to open a brokerage, do it myself, figure it out. So I did it. So coming out of COVID, bought the office on Laskin Road out of foreclosure for somebody, and said, okay, this will be our base of operations. Renovated the office and came in there and hired Mike Obel and started Evolution Home Mortgage, and really learned that business over a year. But it was very, very similar to car lending, very, very similar. And I knew all the basics already.
Yeah.
So got into that and did good. The first couple of years was pretty good in Evolution. So added some more loan officers and so that's been a nice business for us and it's been a nice complementary business to the house flipping. And then 2021 came around. A good friend of mine you've seen probably in your podcast for Mike Palacio. So got into the title business with Mike in 21 and have had a lot of success with that as well. And then kind of Gio and I got involved with the Camus Group in 22 and did my first wholesale deal in 22 with Gio. Is that house in that bigger house? Is that the first? Well, that was a flip. We ended up flipping that house.
I say our very first deal that closed, our very first deal that we did was I brought you in. You bought 5 acres in Pungo.
Oh,
That'd be considered. That was the first deal I had under contract.
Yeah.
But the first deal we closed was that little townhouse. It was a lipstick flick in Scarborough Square.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
So me and Gio met. So then we really got I always knew that hey, look, I'm good at this. I can flip 20 or 30 houses a year, and that's going to be a good business. But I always knew I could turn the accelerator up.
Yeah.
I knew that my marketing was just dialed up enough for the houses I want to flip and buy because I wasn't wholesaling anything. So I just put that marketing at like 2. Like it's like setting a dial. And for me, I did everything was pay-per-click at that point because I wanted easy. Like good leads came in, I paid more for them, but that's okay. I don't want to go on 10,000 appointments. I only want 2 or 3 deals a month because I'm only flipping 20 or 30 houses, and that's all I needed. But I knew I could ratchet that, and I came out and met Gio. I said, I want to see what happens if we turn this up to 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 and see what happens. And Gio's incredibly talented at what he does, and we had a couple other partners and moved it to 7 or 8, and it just started falling. Like everything just fell into place, and probably wholesaled 100, 120 houses our first year. Well, I flipped another 20 or 30, bought 20 or 30 rental properties in a year. I mean, it was off the hook. So year one, yeah. We all knew what we were doing. We just needed it turned up a little bit. And then from there, we've, got a hard money lending business that we're kind of lending to the people buying our wholesale houses. I mean, so we're involved in a lot of these pieces, but we're getting in, we're moving into other markets. So it's been an exciting growth pattern, but like it really took off. But, we always kind of knew it was there, but you have to have the right team to make it work.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that myself, and him and I couldn't have done it stuff. We got great people.
Still can't do it.
Yeah. We've got great people we work with that make that engine go.
Yeah.
And every day it's a grind, but we're doing a tremendous amount of volume. I mean, we're putting on a contract 20, 30 houses a month. I mean, and that's not even, I still think we're at 5 or 6 on that dial. I think we could take that dial to 8 or 9 or 10, but like, I don't want to blow all the doors on the system right now. So we need some more bodies in different markets, but we've been blessed.
Yeah.
So I know we're kind of coming up on time. Usually what me and Chris do at this time in the show is we allow the guests to ask each of us one question. And I know it's kind of loaded because both of us very well, but any question you want to ask, nothing's off limits. One question for Chris and one question for me. Shoot.
Chris, we talked about this being a show, so like you have a vibrant social media following.
Yes, sir.
So tell me how that puts in place and what advice you would give someone to get started from scratch, and what does it take to get there?
somebody starting from scratch from social media, I'll say first thing you do not look at your likes when you post something. Don't look at your likes. Don't look at your views, right? Just put out content consistently. So consistency is really going to be a big thing. Especially now, when I really started on social media wasn't that big, especially in real estate. Now it's super big. We're dealing with, social media is oversaturated with literally everything. So being consistent is one thing that's going to separate you, because people, they want to get started on social media because they feel that's the easiest way to gain clients, things like that. But they don't stay consistent because, like I said, they're looking at their likes. And when they don't get the traction that they want, they just quit. So don't look at your likes. Be consistent. That's really the advice that I would say. And then also kind of feed off of what your audience likes. I did a lot of studying on people in my market. Like, what do they like? And people in different markets, like people I aspired to be on social media, whether they had 1 million followers, hundreds of thousands, whatever. I'm looking at them and saying, okay, what are they doing to get that type of traction? And then I will basically copy their game plan and implement it into my life and what I know will work for me. And I would just paste it. And then that's when I started to get a lot of traction from social media. But I really didn't see traction from social media for literally probably 3 years, I would say. And I was posting consistently social media years and years without really seeing anything. So like I said, just be consistent. Don't look at your likes and the traction will come.
Love it. That's great advice.
G, I'm going to turn personal on you. I talk a lot of business anyway, so
Yes, sir.
we don't need to do that here.
Yes, sir.
What, in a perfect world, what does your personal life look like in 5 years?
I think
And business.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my personal life, business life is a little more broader stroke. I think my personal life is a little more time freedom. I understand in the cycle that I'm in right now in business, I'm in the growing phase where we're building. So I know that I'm not going to enjoy the time freedom, being that we're still kind of figuring and getting steady in the ship and getting everything. But I would like to kind of be thinking of starting a family. I don't have children. I'm already kind of coming up on my mid-30s. I ain't no spring chicken. So, in 5 years, I would like to do that, and I would like to be able to travel when it gets cold here. I love my hometown. I love Virginia Beach, especially when it gets warm. There's a lot to do. I'd like in 5 years to be starting a family and to have the ability to have enough time freedom to travel in the wintertime for a significant amount of time. Yes, sir. Well, we really appreciate you coming, taking time out of your day, Ranjeev, to be here with us to share kind of some of the successes and failures and lessons that you've learned as a serial entrepreneur. If people want to follow you, how do they find you?
Instagram, Ranjeev Invests.
Awesome.
Well, Ranjeev, we appreciate you. Let's talk assets.
Peace.
Thank you.